He showed up with a 10-point plan on the economy, and he only used the word woke once. Will it make a difference?
I mean, this is DeSantis trying to become the candidate that donors want to support. He's had a major issue, both in getting enough money to fuel his campaign. He laid off a third of his staff last week. He's also getting a lot of flack from members of his party, from other donors who say, "Hey, we want you to focus on economic policy issues. We want you to not just go out and berate Disney and talk about LGBTQ issues. We want you to have a message that gets people to vote for you." This is now one speech. I talked with a bunch of donors this afternoon, those of whom were staying on the sidelines for now. This is not enough to get them off the sidelines, but they said this was a positive first step, and they want to see the campaign continue to move in this direction.
Right, and they also want to see how he performs, of course, the end of August, the debate stage. Interesting in that New York Times poll where you see Trump just crushing the competition. DeSantis, though, in second place. Yet, what the poll shows that even if all those candidates disappeared and Mr. DeSantis got a hypothetical one-on-one race against Trump, he would still lose by a 2-to-1 margin, 62% to 31%. This is if it was going to be Trump versus DeSantis. Does that not spook donors at all? Should they start getting in the ear of the former president at this point?
That spooks donors. It also really spooks, the DeSantis campaign itself, looking at these numbers and saying, that we, what the campaign goes out and said, look, we're the only person that can possibly take on Trump. But when you look at these numbers, that people they're much more attached to Trump than they are to DeSantis, and that's going to be a problem going forward. The DeSantis campaign is really hoping that Trump's legal problems bring him down. So far, that's not been the case. I mean, there's still potentially, 2 more indictments yet to come down the pike, but you see Trump doing better in the polls, doing better in fundraising after those indictments, not worse.
Well, I mentioned the 10-point plan. There was actually some policy in there, including a knock on the Fed. And Ron DeSantis says if he's elected president, he will rein in the Fed. And referenced, he didn't use the word woke, but progressive ESG-related things that he thinks the Fed has lost its focus on controlling prices.
Pretty sharp commentary on the Fed by any candidate. You would have thought, making the point, of course, as you just mentioned, that he would be willing to replace the governor. Now, I suppose if the Fed was to pull off a soft landing, then they would broadly have the public on their side. But if they get this wrong, it won't be just Ron DeSantis who's out for the Fed. They will lose a lot of credibility. But either way, the Fed wants to be politically neutral. They don't want to be in the middle of this political fight. They will probably be surprised to see them featuring in the way that they did in this speech. But I'm not sure how many votes there will be in Fed bashing. But as I say, we'll see if they pull off that soft landing or not.